This is a downrigger. Downriggers were developed by anglers who wanted to get baits and lures down to very specific depths, often well beyond the capabilities that the lure or the bait could normally dive to. They consist of what's effectively a winch system. On that winch is a handle to crank it, and it's either spooled up with cord, or in this case wire, or sometimes you can even use braid. To get it down to the depth that you want, you obviously need some weight. This is basically a giant sinker. The cord off the downrigger attaches to the top, and then off the trailing section I've got a small length of wire and I've got a clip. Works basically like a clothes peg. The line from your fishing rod clips into the peg. When it's all set up, if a fish takes your lure or your bait, the line pulls out of the peg and you're basically fighting the fish straight off the rod, so you don't have any cumbersome terminal tackle that you're trying to fight at the same time. That's a really small one because I'm generally doing estuary or freshwater trout fishing. This is a bigger version of it that you might use for offshore fishing. And then I've got this one here which is spring loaded, and this one's actually takes quite a bit of resistance to open it. So if I'm using a big lure that's going to be pulling hard, or maybe a large bait, I don't want that line popping out as soon as I've got it set up, so this resistance will hold that line in place until a fish comes and pulls it out. Now, downriggers come in a variety of different sizes for different applications. This one's quite a small one because most of my fishing is in freshwater impoundments or in estuaries, but they come in really big sizes for taking right out into the continental shelf, fishing for marlin and things like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to head out into some deeper water. I'm going to set this up and I'm going to show you a very simple way how to get your downrigger set for fishing. What we're going to do now is we're going to set this downrigger up. Basically, I want to set my lure back a little bit. The distance that you set your lure behind your bomb is determined by the depth you're going to set it at. The general rule of thumb is the shallower you're going to have your bomb, the further back you want it. The deeper you go, the closer you can have your lure to the bomb. We're going to be fishing at about 30 feet here. I'm going to have my lure back at about 25 feet from the bomb. So I've cast it out there. With a bait caster, if you don't want to cast it, you can just feed it out, that's all right. I'm going to pop the rod in the holder. I'm going to get the line. I'm going to pop the line in the clip. Now, a little tip here when you're using braided line, if you just put a braid in the clip like that, how it's designed, because braid's really fine and high tensile, it often slips out very easily. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to take a couple of twists in that line. That's going to double the braid over, and provided that I'm careful that when it goes into that clip, it's not going to get caught on anything trying to come out. That's going to hold a little bit better. Then I'm just going to drop the bomb overboard, making sure that I don't get anything tangled up, and usually you'd be moving forward in this process. And now I'm ready to release the bomb. Now if I just let this go by releasing the brake, it's going to swing down and it's actually going to pop the line out of the clip because I don't have my bail arm open on the reel. So next thing I want to do is open the bail arm on the reel or disengage the bait caster, and then this lever here will release the brake, and just gently let it go down. The more I pull the brake off, the faster it'll go. There's a little counter on top that's counting down in feet how deep that's going. That's just hit 20 feet. I've stopped that with my thumb and I've just re-engaged the brake. Now, click the bail arm back over and I'll just wind that tension back up. Now when I'm lure fishing, what I want to do is I want that tension to be quite tight. You see there, I've got that rod tip bent quite a way over. That's deliberate because what we've got is we've got a right angle between where the line goes from the rod tip back to the lure. When a fish grabs that, we want that elasticity to spring out by the rod flicking back up. So if fish takes it, that slack line is pulled out and hopefully we're going to be taut. When you're fishing with baits, however, you don't want your line taut down to that bomb. So what you want to do is you want to feed a little bit of drop back. So what I do is feed 2 or 3 metres of slack line out there. So when the fish takes the bait, it's going to pull the line out of the clip, there's going to be no resistance and it's going to swallow that bait and hopefully you're going to hook up. Integral to all downrigger fishing though is the use of a depth sounder, because if you can't see what you're doing under the water, you're not going to be able to see any obstacles or any hazards, and certainly you won't even be able to see where the fish are. So if you don't know why you're putting a bomb down at a certain depth, there's probably no point doing it. I hope that's shown you that downriggers are not as daunting as you might have originally thought. They are, however, a great way to reach fish that you would otherwise not have a chance at reaching.